Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. You are on the line with Juan Roque and the Rhino Ryan Knowles, and talking a little bit about ASU Recruiting. Rhino, signing day, tick-tock, is now officially a week away. A lot of things going on with ASU now, having some commitments. Local recruiting has not gone as well as a lot of people anticipated, but the way I look at that, Rhino, is, you have 12 years of what I want to call futility with Coach Cutter and Coach Erickson really not stressing a lot of the local recruiting. They were going elsewhere. Cutter was big on Hawaii.
It's going to take time to get out of that stigma.
Erickson was, infatuated with California. So, I think in the second recruiting season, I'm not really down on the staff that they didn't do enough to get the local talent. I think they're doing everything they can, but those relationships and those pipelines take time to build, right? Like the Corona Centennial pipeline, that's established for ASU, but for them to do that locally, I think it's going to take more than a couple of winners.
Definitely. And the focus for this has not always. You're not losing a ton of players off of this from last year's team, especially with guys like Will Sutton coming back. You're not losing a ton off the offensive line. You're trying to rebuild the receiving core a little bit, but you have a couple of established running backs. You have your quarterback. There's not. Really, the focus for Ty Graham in this class has been about building up depth.
Right.
Getting reps, so there's not so much of a drop off on the second team as there was opposed to the first team. So you can get reps down for players, so that they're not so fatigued in the fourth quarter. Keep them fresh and have less of a drop off if players do get hurt.
Let's talk about what is ASU right now. What are we looking at as far as signed talent? There's 24 commits, 8 JUCO guys. What is in this class right now that stood out to you?
Find guys who can come in and contribute right away. Not so much as a starter, but just in spots, maybe on special teams. Because you have several players who are not returning next year, including guys like Danny Wood, Oliver Johnson, Israel Marshall. Guys who were mostly special teams guys, but still played an important role on the team. And the junior class has only 9 players in for this year, so they really need guys who can come in and contribute and who can just be depth guys, if nothing else. And several local. You talked about the local recruits, and they have had a problem with keeping guys here, but a lot of these guys are being recruited so hard on a national stage. Guys like Priest Willis from Marcos Deniza and Kenny Lacey from Mountain Point, both picking UCLA, but hey. That's Noel Mazzoni and Steve Broussard going to work back in their on their old territory. So they've already built up those relationships with those schools.
You almost want to laugh because the local talent was so ignored under Dennis Erickson. It almost became his Achilles heel. But then you have 2 former coaches from that staff who go elsewhere and now are recruiting this area hard. I don't get it right now.
It's a little screwy. ASU.
It almost seems oxymoronic
right now. ASU only has 3 hard commits from Arizona right now. Most of these guys are from California and Texas, but you got guys like Devin Allen from Brophy picking Oregon, but he's also a track guy, so they wanted him to run track as well. Tyler Brugman didn't really fit into the system. He was the best quarterback from the state of Arizona going to Wazoo. Mike Leach, of course, he has a thing with quarterbacks. But, they were able to keep Chance Cox, who was one of the top 5 recruits in the state. He's going to play middle linebacker for them. He's graduated already. He's enrolled for the spring. And, Grant Martinez, another guy who was at Notre Dame prep, very highly recruited as both a tight end and a receiver, going to play receiver here. And then the final one is running back Nick Brown from Florence, Arizona. He's a running back now. He's kind of a smaller guy, but he might play corner here. You never know.
Yeah, another ASU great from Florence, Levi Jones.
There you go. That's
so
right.
Maybe he'll follow in Levi's footsteps and become a first-round draft pick.
There's not a whole lot to replace in this team, like I said before. You're not really looking for guys to come in and fill position needs right away. You're only replacing 3 guys on defense right now, in Devron Carr, Brandon McGee, and Keelan Johnson.
Well, those are 3 pretty big shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're getting some good JUCO guys. I like Jamie Otowemo and Demarius Randall, a couple JUCO guys that they brought in for that. Cox is going to battle for time at that middle linebacker spot alongside Antonio Longino and Enrico Florence. And then, you talk about another big guy they got on the defensive line, and Marcus Hardison, a guy who could take some pressure off of Jackson Hood at that nose tackle spot, so he doesn't have as many reps. And I really like the recruiting class that they put together so far. Some good talent. you don't really need. I mean, you have so many good players already on the team. You don't really need a ton of talent right immediately now. This is talent you can kind of grow over the next couple of years. I mean, and they're still in the mix for a lot of players, and a lot of talent, including wide receiver Darren Carrington, an Oregon commit, guy who's very high on a lot of teams' list. He was, he's been recruited by USC and a bunch of other guys. Safety Michael Parker, safety Marcus Ball, L.J. Moore, a corner from Cali. So they got and several others.
They're in the hunt.
There are a couple guys they could still add. It's still a week away. It's a long time in recruiting because guys can flip on their commitments like that. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Yeah, this guy too. So Mr. USC right here.
I don't think so.
But it's the same. The door swings both ways right now because the ASU's got a couple of other commitments. They've lost some commitments. Some guys who didn't qualify academically, who had to take offers from other schools, and then also some guys from Texas like Bo Sandlin, Jason Reese, and a couple others. I think committed too early. I guess if you could say peaked too early. They got offers from other schools that were a little bit closer to home, and then they took them. And then one guy who's been committed since like last summer, quarterback Joshua Dobbs, who's really kind of one of the gems of this recruiting class. He's kind of wavering on his commitment right now. He's a soft verbal to ASU right now. He took a visit to Tennessee over the weekend, so yeah, he could be ending up in that orange and white there. With
recruiting is so much like sales. It's about closing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about closing and getting the commitment.
Butch Jones, their new coach over there. He loves to roll the dice and pick up those big commitments. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I liked him. I felt like he fit into our system extremely well. They're talking to a couple other. They're looking at a couple other quarterbacks right now. Mike Norvell took a trip to Georgia last week to talk to Dobbs, see if he couldn't get him to stay put. And they just offered one of his O-line teammates from Alpharetta out there in Georgia. So to try to entice him to come to stay put.
Alphareta's a beautiful part of Georgia. I got to stay there for a month in 2000, training with a gentleman named Chip Smith, and got to stay right there in Alpharetta. I'll tell you what, that's a beautiful part of the country, man. I'll admit that.
So I mean, but there's still a lot to go down here in the last week. I mean, Vontez Burfict, when he committed to ASU, he was a solid commit to USC, and then pulled a big coup the day up, on signing day. So I mean, there's guys out there that
you get that last minute change of heart.
So we'll see what happens. There's a lot more to a lot more to this, and we'll see what goes down.
Right,
a lot of things to go down.
And signing week is a week away. We'll find out definitely at that point who's going to be Sun Devil, who's not, and those that come, we're going to welcome them. We're going to support them.
Open arms, absolutely.
We're going to with open arms. The ones that don't, well, you can go take a flying. You know what? So that's going to do it for our recruiting segment.
Appreciate that.
And we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about Rhino's, I want to say second favorite sport, because football better be his favorite. But anyway,
yeah, it is.
Talk a little bit about the Sun Devil basketball team
and
their surprising run in the 2012-2013 season.